Hey guys, Dantix here, bringing you some more Cyberpunk 2077 news. A lot of gameplay dropped all at once, so I have a lot to break down. Since there's so much, I'll try to cut out all that's not interesting or important, so don't expect a frame by frame talking about what type of lunch they may have had to make that kind of face just because it's new footage. We're taking a brief look at the new Nvidia trailer as well as the Night City Wire 5 and tidbits that you missed, so buckle up.
What do you want from me?
To subscribe. Let me start with this, some footage from the latest Nvidia trailer, some beautiful action shots of a tech shotgun, rifle and pistol. During the chase sequence outside, look at the rain effects, absolutely stunning. Next, we break into the Night City Wire Episode 5 footage, starting with you and Johnny Silverhand. Like CD Projekt Red have mentioned, Johnny is a kind of co-protagonist in the story. What these clips show though, is that you'll be able to play as Johnny in a sort of flashback scene where you're seeing his memories. It'll be to catch the audience up on who Johnny Silverhand is and what his motivations are. For those who don't know much about him and why he was one of the main characters of the Cyberpunk 2020 RPG, check out my lore video. However, I'm fairly sure they'll explain what brought him to be in a chip that's now in your head and how his girlfriend, Old Cunningham, who you see in these flashbacks, is involved. It's all pretty interesting, especially since I think one of his motivations will be to save her, and based on the kind of person Johnny is, an asshole, he will most likely prioritize his goals over yours. At the start, this is V's impression.
You need to say there's an actual terrorist in my head, right now.
Look, Johnny's a sociopath, we kind of know that, but in many ways he is a terrorist. He blew up a nuke in Arasaka Tower as a middle finger to them, as well as save his girlfriend before ultimately meeting his end. I think you may also replay these moments as you see a nuke in his duffel bag here. It's a good way for CD Projekt Red to get their audience up to speed. In this scene, we see V kicking down a door and interrupting a deal with the 6th Street gang. It's a dynamic moment with Jackie, and this is how you should expect cutscenes to play out. Not actual rendered scenes, but in-game when the action continues and lets you make choices. I imagine you could start shooting if you wanted to. Instead, the character seems to have made a choice to threaten the guy in the car. Johnny has a blood hatred of Arasaka, so he wants you to defeat them at any cost, which might go against what you want. However, in this trailer we see hints that you can interact with a lot of people involved in some way with them. Takamura here has already action figures of him in the real world, and we see him a few times in the trailer and in the next, so he seems like an important character. He wants to get at Arasaka in some way, more on that soon. Here we see Saburo Arasaka, the head of the corporation, so you may find a way to reach the man at the top, or this might be a flashback. In a later scene in the Johnny interview, we see a nuke in the background. It doesn't seem to be moving, but the smoke in the foreground is, so this all could be a flashback of some kind, or during some kind of nuclear event, we don't know. I've seen a lot of people loving this scene. It looks like a Maelstrom gang member, but it's most likely a rogue cyber psycho. An individual so modified with cybernetics that they develop what's called cyber psychosis. At this point, they're a danger to everyone, and there's a special unit of police dedicated to fighting them. Where are they right now? Because clearly this asshole is coming after you and Takamura and doesn't look all too happy. In the latest trailer, we see it doesn't go too well for him though if he chooses a certain outcome. Here we have an intimate scene with Judy. The internet's already going nuts with this, and unless your parents didn't have the talk with you, I don't think I need to explain what's going on here. If you watch my preview video, you know that you can do things to get in Judy's good books, so if you want to get close with her, there's a way. I just hope it's not a female exclusive thing. Then we have an example of how Johnny, even though his soul isn't a chip in your head, is going to add to the experience. Look at him being a creep in this scene, probably distracting the hell out of you. So we have Jackie buying his brand new custom pistols and cut to the shootout with the tiger claws. You throw a gun at one of them. Not sure if this is something you can do in game or part of a scene, but it's effective, even though I would have never recommended this in an actual combat situation. We see the next part in the latest trailer where V shoots the gangster in the legs, which leads me towards more of a cutscene than actual gameplay. You can find and drive Johnny Silverhand's Porsche, though I'd rather drive one of the futuristic cars rather than a car that would be 100 years old in 2077, but it's a nice car. We've seen this lightsaber Baraka before, but based on the context, it seems you'll face him during the mission to steal the immortality chip. You can see the Arasaka logo on his mask and writing on his shoulders. Later on during Night City Wire, we see an extended version of this, and it shows playing around with cables in the back of someone's head before the camera see you, and this man whooshes through some crates and jumps at you at lightning speed. Leads me to believe you take the chip and then need to fight him as a last boss of the mission. This is one of the prostitutes you can employ the services of. Here she is with a parted lips icon, then again getting busy. As of right now, it costs money to experience this workout, but it doesn't seem like you actually get any benefits, and at least not with these girls. Don't expect some boost to stats. Look at the detail on these mantis blades. The edges, scratches, color. Truly, CD Projekt Red put a ton of detail into everything in this game. Beautiful and deadly. This bozo gang member clearly isn't happy with his front row seats. Here we see the low health effect on the screen and V stabbing herself with something, presumably to stay alive. There are multiple types of healing consumables in the game, and we've seen the inhaler and this so far. The next part of Night City Wire just explores Keanu Reeves and his involvement with the game. He explains he's done VO work before and even some mocap stuff with The Matrix. However, there is some new footage during the explanation. This one in particular I think has a simplicity that I like. Johnny asks you if you'll take a bullet for him, and you have a yes, no, maybe, and a dismissal. These are the actual responses you can have to a real question, and they're vastly different. If you answer yes, does he appreciate you more or see an opening to manipulate you later down the track? If you say no, does he try harder to take over your body or win you over? Does dismissing him piss him off? Does it all even matter? These are questions you'll be asking yourself in moments like this, and that's the beauty of the simplicity. Now, I don't know who this is and why you're skinny dipping off a yacht, but it seems male nudity isn't off the cards either. Considering you can customize your dick size, it makes sense. Those into males will be happy to see this. I know there's quite a few of you asking for it. Here's another scene playing as Johnny Silverhand, this time wielding his pistol. So you'll be playing out the Arasaka infiltration rather than just witnessing it play out. You can clearly see this is gameplay and not a cutscene, as when you duck behind cover, your cyber eyes see the outline of the doors and your enemies. Later on during the mission, Johnny gets thrown to the ground by a pack of Arasaka agents, one of which looks an awful lot like Adam Smasher, and those familiar with the Johnny Silverhand lore, you'll know why this is an epic moment.
Told you I'd end you someday.
One thing to note, Johnny is not missing his shots, they're landing. Adam Smasher is basically a T-800 Terminator with very few human parts left. Then we have an interview with Boris, the English adaptation director, and those who have watched the classic Cyberpunk 2077 trailers as much as I have will recognize his voice.
It was a pipe dream to assume that we could successfully pitch to and ultimately enlist Keanu Reeves to play the role.
Honestly, I was more starstruck seeing Boris than Keanu in this Night City Wire. I really hope he voiced characters in the game. He described how Keanu was a perfect fit for the Johnny Silverhand role. Did you know that Johnny Silverhand in the lore actually looks like Keanu Reeves? That in this universe, Keanu was mistaken constantly as Johnny. Then we have a segment about music. The takeaways are as follows. The directors took inspiration from the 80s but gave it a 90s flair. It's 100% electronic but on analog for that warmth. The music is designed to make you feel like a killing machine. There are over 150 custom tracks and 7.5 hours of music. If you're a streamer or content creator, you can activate a mode that lets you replace the copyrighted music. You see here that you can listen to music almost anywhere, with radios around the world and in your car. We get a nice up-close look at the interior dash of Johnny Silverhand's Porsche 500. Can see that there are settings you can jump into and different buttons you can play around with. Every car's interior will be custom and quite different to this. Speaking of quite different, we've already gone through Jali in the past, but it's a software that CD Projekt Red have used to match lips to the over 10 different voice-over languages. During the explanation, we see Meredith Stout's different look. She's no longer brunette like she was in the 48-minute gameplay demo. The scene looks relatively the same in terms of where everyone is on the street, but nothing else is the same. It's been massively upgraded since then. Here we see Misty, Jackie's girlfriend, who looks to seem to be updated as well. We see her again during their latest gameplay trailer. I don't know guys, a lot of the girls in this game seem like they were made not to offend anyone. Maybe it's just me, but I think that in a universe where you can get fake everything, there would be women with fake boobs. But the males seem to have bigger ones. Or even women that naturally don't look 40 when they're in their 20s. Though I really can't speak to the variety of males in the game. Now we've seen this veteran before, back when V elbowed him in the face and during the gang trailer when he was chilling on the couch, so naturally it seems like you can play nice with him if you like. So it turns out there will be in-game rewards for having connected your game to your GOG account. You don't need to play on GOG, but connecting it will reap rewards like the Wolf Jacket. If you play Witcher or Gwent, there'll be even more rewards. And in reverse, you'll get items in Gwent for connecting to Cyberpunk. Now we come to the latest trailer. During the early parts of the game in the first 16 hours, you'll find yourself traveling out to the Badlands. You'll meet this girl and help her with her problems. At that stage, you can't do anything more with her, but seems like you can bud a relationship, so keep that in mind. Relationships will happen organically, so if she calls and you want to develop something further, make sure to answer. Here we see V swimming underwater. We all know underwater levels suck in games, but this might be interesting. A way to explore a different side of Night City. The ability to dive hasn't been talked about before, so I wonder if this is something you can do consistently or a one-off thing. Here we have a conversation with a man named Oda, and you're next to Takamura. I mentioned before that it seems Takamura ties you up with Arasaka in some way. Here's more proof. It seems this is one of Hanako Arasaka's associates. She's the third child of Saburo. She generally disagrees with her father's methods, but still loves him. She's one of the only people that knew of Alt Cunningham's Soul Killer program, so no doubt meeting her is a means to an end for you. Right now you're sitting, and the options you're presented with all stand you up. We notice that the third option is a life path exclusive one, a corpo choice based on your time working for Arasaka. Arasaka is one of the most powerful corporations in Night City, along with Militech. This is an Arasaka mech and would no doubt be a crazy challenge to face alone. As it's patrolling an area, I take it you want to avoid it at all costs. Here we see Royce with some of his Maelstrom gangsters with him. Note that this is post meeting him, so if you choose the diplomatic approach, rat out Militech and take Royce's side, no doubt you'll be offered missions from him in situations like this. Note that the female Maelstrom doesn't look nearly as scary as her counterparts. We've seen this scene before, driving with one of the fixers of Night City who has ties to the local Valentino gang. But what we didn't know is this 6th Street gangster pulls you over, and this scene was not from a street race, but them hashing it out. 6th Street and the Valentinos have beef, and you may unwittingly get involved. A good look at Takamura now in Tom's diner. The scene right after talking to Johnny, who was sitting right where Takamura is now. So it leads me to believe it's fairly early on that you meet him. He seems heavily modified and wanting revenge on Arasaka. We really won't be lacking for enemy variety. Just look at this woman. Seems like a Maelstrom Gangoon, but I can't be sure. Not sure what's going on here either, if it's a brain dance or this is actually happening, but the vans you're chasing seem to be projections. There's just so much going on with this game. I wonder if this is an ability that the enemies employ to get away. Here we see Adam Smasher with an updated body and changed around slightly since the last trailer we saw. His eyes have since become less human. Here we see the projectile launcher in action again. It'll be a cooldown based ability that shoots a rocket or other things based on modifications out of your arm at enemies. In this case, at a Wraith, who are a high level gang in the Badlands. The direct blast doesn't seem to be enough to take him down. Here's some pistol combat. With quick hands and a good aim, it seems you can clear out particular enemies fast, though we know of some enemies that will be hard to kill without skill and perk investment. These robots are that example. V ends up rounding them up next to explosives, then using those to take them out. If you want to take out enemies easily without taking fire back, a stealthy way might be a better choice for you, as we know early on at least, takedowns will result in a dead or incapacitated enemy. You can stealth around easily if you invest a little in intelligence and quick hacking. Here's an example of quick hacking a camera. V is trying to get into the back entrance of this extreme workout center. You can control the camera, turn it off, or distract enemies based on the quick hacks you have equipped. It uses RAM, and you have 4 RAM in this particular cyber deck. Think of the RAM as your mana and quick hacks as your spells. To control the camera you need 3 RAM, and it will take 1.5 seconds to pull off the hack, some hacks taking much longer. During the Maelstrom mission, you steal the Flathead bot in order to prove yourself to Dexter Deshawn, a fixer in Night City, before he gives you the big job. The big job is called the Heist, and involves you stealing the chip that just so happens to give you Johnny Silverhand's soul in your head. So we see Arasaka in the background and the spider bot being used during the mission. We saw V breaking in the back entrance of the Extreme Workout Center just before. Now we see him shooting the people inside it with a tech rifle. Well, it's a tech rifle, but its shots spread like a shotgun, so maybe it's a shocker. It's got quite the punch at any rate, especially since these are animal gangsters and won't go down easy. V then scans the target and switches it to a quick hack. We see that this gangster is weak to thermal and electrical damage and resistant to biological damage. He's also wanted for blackmail and first-degree murder, which makes me less concerned about killing him. It's unclear if you can claim a bounty on him for this kill, since there seems to be no reward listed. By spending a whopping 13 RAM and taking an upload time of 8 seconds, we can hack the target's cyberware and force them to commit suicide. With a long cooldown of 2 minutes, it's probably not an ability you use often. You also have 2 more daemons available, Reboot Optics, which costs 4 RAM, and Breach Protocol, which costs nothing. While the hack is going through, you fire a rocket from your projectile launcher. Inevitably, the gangster kills himself. Here's a back shot of Hanako Arasaka, and I hope we see more of it and her. Here she is in the board meeting with what seem to be important people. It's unclear if you crash this party or are invited, but these Arasaka heavy agents don't seem like ones you want to mess with. At least in one outcome, with Takamura's help, Dexter gets what's coming to him. That's all I have to say about that. In this scene, we're mid-conversation with him about Arasaka. The Corpo Life Path option has you confront him about the fact you used to work for them. It's no surprise that this life path will offer insight in missions where Arasaka are directly involved. In the next scene, we're in a room with the higher-ups of the Tiger Claw gang, no doubt negotiating on Judy's behalf. Judy has ties to the Mox gang, who are only a gang of sex workers to protect themselves from gangs like the Tiger Claws, who killed one too many of them in the past. No doubt there is still beef there, and Judy wants you to take them out. You also have the option of talking one of them out, which may be the one who's pressuring the Cloud Bar and sends his goons to attack it, which we saw during the Night City special trailer. Here's another look at V's apartment, where you can go to relax and handle your business. But why do that when there's a whole city to explore? Maybe even buy a car. We see Jackie and V at the car dealership here, so we know they're in the world. We also know that bought cars can be summoned to your side as they have auto drive tech, so you can call them like you would Roach in the Witcher series. Cut to some beautiful lighting effects, and that's it. That's all I have for you today. What do you think so far? Are you getting the game at release? If you liked the video, let me know down below and drop it a like. Be sure to be in the running for my giveaway and subscribe for all things RPG. I'll be back very soon with more Cyberpunk 2077. Ciao friends.